Captain Forest here, and in today's video I'm bringing you guys something unique. I'm going to do a video on Deku to see how far he makes it through the Marvel Street Tier Gauntlet. Now, there is a huge laundry list of Marvel Street Tiers. There are some Street Tiers I've never heard of, or the Street Tiers I've heard of, but I don't know their scaling. So, with the help of Phoenix, shoutouts to Phoenix, we decided to keep it simple. We picked an assortment of well-known Marvel Street Tiers, and we're going to go up the list, see how far Deku makes it. I will briefly talk about certain aspects of these characters, just to give you guys a brief bio, a brief understanding of where these characters scale in the verse, and if Deku can completely one-shot them, if he clears, does he have difficulty, there's going to be some contentious matchups, and of course I will be explaining and giving my 2 cents and my interpretation on how I think Deku would fare against each individual character. So let's begin. Now, in terms of consistency, I'm going to be sticking with the more consistent routes for each individual Marvel Street Tier character. I'm not going to be using any high ends, no comps, nothing like that, because then it gets really silly. I'm just going to flat out, standard battle assumptions, one-on-one situation, how it would pan out, what would happen more often than not. So today's combatant, the first one's going to be Daredevil. Now I'm going to give you guys just a quick insight on Daredevil. Now, in terms of AP and speed, he should easily scale to the rest of the other characters. He should easily range around city level physically. Now, he did get an added thing later on in his comic. So he has this thing called the Fist. He was able to damage Spider-Man with it. So you could take his scaling a little higher, get him higher with the finite scaling from Spider-Man. So there's some city stuff, mountain, country, you can even argue for it, but that's with the Amp, of course. As for speed, easily ranging from FTL, so 2 times the speed of light to 9 times the speed of light if you use Spider-Man's calcs or any other character who's also performed the same laser dodging feats. Daredevil would scale to those. As for other assets, Daredevil obviously is blind. He has his radar sense, which works like precognition. He's able to detect what's around him, despite the fact he is blind. So his radar sense basically picks up and detects things before it happens. So he'd be able to basically fight just fine, and he'd be able to precog what's around him. He also has his billy clubs, of course, for physical, offensive, hand-to-hand combat. His go-to melee weapons, and of course he's very skilled in martial arts. Has a lot of good feats with his martial arts, good statements, and just his general feats that he's performed in fights. So, if he was to fight Deku, who would win more often than not? Now, Deku himself has higher AP and higher speed. Now I'm going to be using, obviously, current Deku, peak Deku at his best after the whole, all for one Shigaraki situation. So Deku has like multi-continental AP. He has FTL, reaction speed, so 45 times the speed of light. I actually made a video on Deku if you guys want to check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. But easily, I would have to side with Deku on this. Deku just has superior stats more often than not. He would blitz Daredevil and would simply one-shot him. Daredevil's radar sense can be blitzed if you are faster than him. It's happened before. Spider-Man himself has actually blitzed Daredevil's radar sense and one-shot him in combat before. For a lot of these characters, the recurring theme we're going to see about this, a lot of the Marvel Street Tiers when it comes to skill, they definitely, if it came to just a skill on skill battle, they would completely embarrass Deku. If it came to hand combat, they are just vastly above him in skill. However, skill is completely garbage and irrelevant if you do not have the stats to back it up, and in this case, Daredevil does not. First character to go down, Daredevil's going down on this one. Deku's taking victory. I'd say no difficulty. Just too fast and too strong. Multi-continental AP, versus the other ranges I just gave to Daredevil. Now, moving on to Black Widow. Black Widow, I actually did a video on her, so if you guys want to check that out. She would also range around the town to city level ranges of attack potency. She would also have the same speed, so 2 times to 9 times the speed of light, so some good speed ranges. Of course, she has a gadget, she has a Widow's Bite. The Widow's Bite's very dangerous. I think she has a pretty decent win con in this fight. The Widow's Bite definitely be able to negate durability, and if that hits Deku, it's going to paralyze him, leave him in a coma. Like, the Widow's Bite's nothing to scoff at, and that thing's been able to hurt Herald Tiers too. And she also has an assortment array of objects and weapons. She has guns, bombs, bullets. She carries bullets with her, and guns, obviously, with her pistols, and she carries other odd sorts of things in her in her little bracelets too, so she has like poison darts and things of that nature. But again, just the same theme, just the stats just ain't doing it for her. She's just gonna get blitzed and one shot. Deku's too fast, Deku's too strong, so she won't be able to apply any of these things. Again, she's probably more skilled than Deku. I definitely see her being more skilled, just knows far more martial arts. She's an expert, if not masters, in some of these categories in terms of like different styles of martial arts. So again, if it came down to skill, she'd completely embarrass Deku, but more often than not, I gotta give this to Deku. No difficulty again. So that's number 2. Number 3, Captain America. Captain America himself, again, same ranges, town, city, FTR reaction speed 2 times to 9 times. He has his shield. The shield has Herald tier scaling, creation level scaling, easily taking punches from Hulk, Thor's hammer. The shield itself is very durable. There's a solid win con with the shield, of course. The sharp edges also negate durability, so if Deku was to get tagged by it, it would slice him in half like butter. Captain America, he knows all forms of martial arts. He is a master at all forms of martial arts too. He's extremely skilled. He has instinctive reaction, precognition, so those things could help him in this fight. However, it's just the stat difference is just way too big. Deku himself, he's just going to get in. If it comes down to hand-to-hand combat, Cap is too slow to react due to the higher quantifications of speed with Deku. Deku's just going to Detroit smash Captain America's face off, unfortunately. So I gotta give that one to Deku again. So anyway, let's move on to the next character. Let's talk about Moon Knight. Moon Knight's pretty interesting. He also has some pretty interesting aspects to bring in the fight. Moon Knight has an assortment of weapons, of course. They all do interesting things. He carries adamantium darts. He carries, a dart gun. He carries different types of weapons for situations. I definitely think Deku would have to be careful with the adamantium darts. If it tags Deku again, adamantium in Marvel is broken. It negates durability. It's slicing through Herald tier characters like literal butter. So if he was to get tagged by it, it would be a huge issue. Also, Moon Knight does have, I believe it's adamantium or carbonadium armor. So that could definitely be able to take some blows from Deku's punches. However, in character, Deku more than likely likes to punch people in the face. And if Deku was to punch Moon Knight in his armor, even if Moon Knight was to tank it due to the armor, Moon Knight is going to get sent flying. So I don't think Moon Knight would be able to recover from such a nasty punch. Multi-continental levels of AP coming straight at his chest, and by the time he tries to recuperate and get up, it's over. Like, Deku's just gonna one shot. So I still give victory to Deku. No diff, maybe a low diff depending on how it turns out, but Deku takes the easy dub on this one. Now, Shang Chi, his skill is built different. He's a master at all forms of martial arts too. Just really good skill and adaptation as well. I just think the issue here again, Deku just stat stomps. Shang-Chi can't keep up. He's too slow. He can't implement his abilities with Chi. It's the same scenario with Cap as well. Cap also has adaptation too, I forgot to mention, but it's not going to matter, especially if the fight's going to end in like just a few seconds. So unfortunately, Shang-Chi is also going to fall to Deku. Deku's really picking up those W's. Let's talk about Cyclops. Cyclops, the leader of the X-Men, he is extremely skilled with his optic blast. He can ricochet. He also has precognition. He's very tactical and strategic, kind of like Deku. Deku is also very tactical and strategic too. However, when it comes to stats, Deku just has what it takes to just take down Cyclops. He's too fast. Cyclops again, city level AP. However, with the optic blast, depending on its potency, the frequency, and how much output it's going to perform, if it's a full powered optic blast, that would literally vaporize and one shot Deku, but that's not going to touch him. He's too slow to even get to his visor to activate it like that anyway. It's not in character for Cyclops to just start off with full powered optic blast. He likes to fight more strategic and a lot more efficiently, so he'll start with like low frequency or maybe even mid frequency, but Deku has the speed, he has the reaction to react to those optic blasts. Once he gets in, he's just going to punch Cyclops in his face, Detroit smash, GG no re. So Deku, I'd say like low diff. I definitely think Cyclops has a chance. It just depends, but Deku is definitely taking the dub on this one. Next combatant, Silver Samurai. Silver Samurai is very skilled when it comes to swordsmanship. He's a master in a lot of forms of martial arts, probably all of them. So if it came down to skill again, he would embarrass Deku with a bloody bamboo stick. He does have his armor as well, and of course Silver Samurai has precognition, instinctive reaction. He can fight Wolverine. He fights Wolverine on a daily basis, almost. Like the rivalry's crazy. But again, the armor's not going to be enough. It's like he's gonna feel the punch through his armor if Deku gets in. The stat difference is just way too big. Again, city, and of course 2 times speed of light. He just doesn't have the stats to really apply the skill and his mutant power, which basically allows him to augment and basically imbued his weapon with a type of energy which gives his sword durability negation. That's another thing that could be dangerous. See, if stats were equalized or stats weren't really too much of an issue in this, I definitely see Silver Samurai winning just due to being more skilled. And if that saber, if that sword cuts Deku, that's just a one shot right there. Obviously, unequal stats, Deku takes it. I'd say like no diff. Now Deadpool. Deadpool has his regen, he has a bunch of weapons. This is just standard Deadpool, we're not talking about his crazy other forms, because comp Deadpool would just completely one shot and eviscerate Deku, no difficulty. So we're just talking about standard Deadpool. Deadpool's regeneration is really good. Like, he's very difficult to take down if it comes to trying to, you know, kill him or trying to take out his vitals. He'll just regen. However, Deadpool, he is not immune to being incapacitated, so even if you argue the regen kind of keeps him in the game, if Deku like tries to, like, you know, punch him up, like Deadpool, if he gets hit in the face, if he gets hit really hard by Deku, Deadpool's going to be sleeping. And standard battle assumptions, you know, I think it's about a day or a week you have to get up to fight again, or I think it's actually, no, I think it's an hour. So I think it's like an hour or so you have to get up, and if you don't meet the criteria of the standard battle assumptions, you lose the fight. So more often than not, I definitely see Deku winning. Deku, he could incapacitate Deadpool if he can't get around the regen. If not, he could just use Black Whip to tie up Deadpool. Deadpool can't move and he doesn't have the AP to get out of it. Again, similar stats with the other characters. He just doesn't have what it takes to take down Deku. So I gotta give this to Deku again. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about Beast. Again, Beast kind of gets slammed. It's not really much of a competition. Beast kind of scales to everyone else. Beast doesn't have what it takes to deal with Deku, so he'd get slammed too. Now, Punisher, similar situation with Black Widow. Really good arsenal, really good weaponry, really good skill, really good endurance, instinctive reaction, precog, you name it. Just can't apply it due to the stats. So again, I gotta give that to Deku. So that's 2 dubs he's taken again. Blade, bro, Blade is getting flicked with a ruler. Blade has no way to deal with Deku. Stats just ain't saying much. He can't deal with Deku. Nightcrawler is pretty interesting. Nightcrawler does have his teleportation, so Deku would have to be careful. But even with the teleportation, Deku does have danger sense. He has his own precog, so he could just precog Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is very predictable when he teleports. So once Deku starts to use his tactics and strategy and intelligence and battle IQ and precognition all in one, he's going to precog, discover how Nightcrawler fights and his patterns, and then he's just going to hit him with a Detroit smash, and that's just going to one shot and take out Nightcrawler. So I'm going to give that one to Deku. Again, similar stats, it's just Nightcrawler just doesn't have what it takes in terms of AP. Now Hawkeye. Hawkeye has a really interesting assortment of objects, especially with arrows. He has adamantium arrows, explosive arrows, nuclear bomb arrows. He has a lot of nasty arrows in his arsenal, and those things could definitely be a threat to Deku. However, due to the fact that Deku is just far too superior in these stats, he would be able to avoid the arrows very easily. He'd get around the arrows. Quick draw won't work due to the fact that Deku has precog, so he'd be able to keep up, and once he gets in, Hawkeye is done for. Sabretooth, this one's pretty interesting. Again, Sabretooth can be incapacitated. It's happened before, but Sabretooth's going to be a lot harder to take down. Again, he has really good endurance, kind of similar to Wolverine, but I wouldn't say on the same level. Definitely, I think Deku would probably be like a mid-diff, just due to how stubborn Sabretooth's regen is and his willpower and endurance. But I definitely think Deku could put him out of commission, and Black Whip will do the trick too. Taskmaster, another guy who I did a video on. Taskmaster is awesome. He has the ability of mimicry, so photogenic reflexes, so whatever movements you perform, he can copy them. That's why he can copy martial arts techniques. He can mimic gestures and movement and behaviors in seconds, and he's a master at all forms of martial arts. He can copy everyone's fighting style. He can copy the way Spider-Man fights. He's copied the way Punisher fights, Daredevil, you name it, everyone, even Cap. He also has his weapons, his shield, and his sword. The sword could definitely be an issue. It does have Duraneg. You could even argue with the shield. However, the stats just ain't favoring Taskmaster in this. Again, similar stats to everyone else. City level or town, you know, FTL 2 times to 9 times. Now, Taskmaster has really good endurance. He's very stubborn. Even when he went up against Hyperion, even when his bones were battered and bruised, like, Taskmaster was still trying to fight. But even then, it's not going to be enough Deku are just 2-shot at best, and I see Deku still taking the victory. Again, if stats were equalized, Taskmaster would be able to defeat Deku pretty easily due to his photogenic reflexes and mimicry, and he'd be able to fight and outskill Deku. Gambit, again, kind of similar with Hawkeye. None of those kinetic cards are going to touch Deku. Deku is just going to swing in and beat his ass. Now, let's talk about Iron Fist. Iron Fist has a deadly win con, his Chi. That thing is Herald tier level. Deku gets tagged with an Iron Fist or any of that Chi. Deku is done for. However, Iron Fist, he still has those stats of the rest of the other characters. And I definitely see Deku completely making that win con completely irrelevant due to having better stats. So I definitely see Deku going in and one-shotting Iron Fist before he can even get up the Chi. This is where we get a little bit contentious now. There's 4 characters left. Luke Cage. I think Luke Cage would definitely be able to beat Deku. Luke Cage himself has insane durability, insane AP feats. He's fought Juggernaut, he's fought Wonder Man, he's taken hits from characters who have like Hulk statements. It's insane. He's taken a full powered optic blast from Cyclops. So I think Luke Cage would probably ultimately defeat Deku just due to Deku not being able to stat stomp anymore. I think Luke Cage definitely has the AP to take down Deku, and more often than not I think Luke Cage would probably beat Deku more often than not. I'd say like mid difficulty, just depends on how it goes, because Deku is very stubborn to take down. Now, more characters. So Black Panther, I really don't see what Deku can do against Black Panther. Deku's punches are all going to get absorbed by the suit. The kinetic energy generated from Deku's punches are all going to get nullified, and they're going to get absorbed by the suit. Black Panther himself also has nasty hacks himself. He has claws. He also has his omnidirectional energy blast, so AoE that could definitely take out Deku. And due to Black Panther's far superior tech and nasty ways to take down Deku, I definitely see Black Panther winning more often than not, due to him having superior tech and due to his suit and the amount of things it can do. He can teleport to higher dimensions, so he can BFR people there. He has shields, he has many other attributes, he has precognition himself, so he'd definitely be able to take down Deku. I think he'd probably beat Deku at least like low diff. Wolverine is also a weird kind of contentious topic. You could make an argument for the same fight with Sabretooth, but again, Wolverine has really good statements of having really good endurance feats. He can take hits, and if Deku's not careful, if Deku gets swiped by the adamantium claw in the wrong place, that could be a huge issue for Deku. However, you could simply make the argument with Black Whip. Black Whip could just simply restrain Wolverine. It's happened before. So if Wolverine gets restrained in a way where he can't use his arms or the claws, then Deku can win simply by, you know, standard battle assumptions with incapacitation. And lastly, Spider-Man. Unfortunately, as much as I love Deku, Spider-Man just has way too many feats, especially when Spider-Man gets excited in combat. His AP is going to start to skyrocket, his speed's going to start to skyrocket. An unsuppressed Spider-Man is unfortunately just leagues above Deku, and I really don't see what Deku can do, especially against a Spider-Man who's not suppressing himself and he's fighting all out. So I think Deku would probably stop around Spider-Man, but overall, Deku, he'd definitely wipe the floor. I'd say at least about 80% of the Marvel Street tiers he'd put out of commission. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment down below, and give me your thoughts. Do you think Deku completely body slams and beats and clears the gauntlet? Or do you think Deku will ultimately meet his match against a certain character? Anyway, it's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.